Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Finale, and this is Real Estate Talk TGIF. This is episode 294. That's 291 weeks in a row. We are the longest live broadcast in North America. I'm very happy with that. I'm very proud of that. And today, I get to meet, just so you know, I get to meet great people every week, every day. And Tessa is someone that I came to know over the past few months. We're actually working together, helping train and coach agents as we move along in this world of real estate. And Tessa is, she's got a real estate school. She's got a lot of things she's working on, and she's just one of those fabulous people that loves to help people. Tessa, thanks so much for being here today.
Good morning, Dave. No, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And before we get started, we might as well go to the videotape. Hit it, Nelson. Real estate agents, are you looking to acquire clients consistently to grow your business and income for a great lifestyle? Well, this is Dave Finale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and the Modern Agent team. And good morning, everybody. As I said, we are episode 294. You know, there's Byron Lazine of Broke Agent Media will tell you that he's got the longest running broadcast. It actually is not live. That's why ours is longer. Anyway, so here we are, episode 294. Tessa Sims is with us today, and I'm going to introduce you. But before I introduce you, I'm going to ask you a question. And that question is, what does TGIF stand for?
Thank God it's Friday.
You're very good. You're very close, but you're not correct.
No?
So understand that.
All right.
95%.
Way to start it off, not being correct. Go ahead.
That's okay, but nobody gets it right. Thank God it's finale. It's just the way it is. It's just, thank God it's finale. So it makes sense, right?
Okay.
My show, right. I don't call it anything I want. Anyway, so Tessa, you come with us. You're in California, sunny California, but cold today. You help a lot of agents. You started the real estate school. You spent a lot of time, decades actually, consulting, coaching, recruiting, leading others to obtain their dreams with different kinds of things. And you say that your secret sauce is basically to invest in your people, your team, the people you work with, the people you help, to help them grow. And the more you give of yourself, the better everybody else does, which I think is really, really cool. And you had to start somewhere when you started doing this. So you had to have passion for something, and passion as you move through in your life. Talk us through your journey and how you got to where you are today, and how you decided to do it.
So how far back in the journey?
Back
21 up. Okay. So listen. So so that's an interesting story, actually. I've spent 20 years. I spent 20 years in real estate, and prior to my journey in real estate, I started off in the world of technology. So I cut my skills on breaking new territory in the world of technology on the hardware side of things. But then, I had a friend who was a cuckoo, crazy gal, which I loved, super energy, and she was in real estate, always on the phone. Always on the phone. So her and her husband talked me into starting an escrow company, believe it or not. And that was my beginnings in real estate. Never had the desire to be in real estate, never had a passion in real estate. I've always had a passion for people. Just for me, I've always been a relationship person. And so my relationships, whether it be sales, well, we knew it always had to be sales, because I actually started off with a company. I've only been fired once, and it was because I wasn't able to develop relationships. So I knew I had to get back into sales. Mm-hmm. So it's always been sales. It's always been people. And the more I poured into people, the better the results, the more prosperous, the more progress I saw in my life. And so, and I've always had a very independent streak, very independent. And so I segued right into real estate, launched our escrow company back in the early 2000s, 2006, 2007. And then the market turned, right? I don't know if you remember that. And the market turned and shifted, right? That was a really tough time for all of us. And then I segued, believe it or not, from escrow to one of my clients owned a real estate franchise. And she's like, Tessa, we really need your help. Would you mind stepping in and taking over our franchise? And I thought, well, I've never sold real estate. Is that going to be a problem? She's like, no, I saw what you did with the escrow company. You can do this. And I said, all right, I'll take a look at it. I don't need a job. I've got several businesses that I owned at the time. So I thought I would just take a look at it. And next thing you know, I stepped right into the CEO position at Keller Williams. That was back in 2007.
The CEO of a market center of
a franchise, of the franchise. I stepped in as what they called the team leader. They called it a team leader. So I stepped in as a team leader to the franchise, and they had 76 agents on the roster. And so I just took all my skills that I learned on the technology side of the house and building the escrow business, and I just started doing my one-on-ones. And I went from half of the people on the roster were ghosted. I went from 33 agents to 300 agents, and I spent 10 years of my journey there with the franchise building it until we were closing about $1 billion a year in closed sales volume. It was so much fun. It was almost like a labor of love, you know, just getting into relationship and onboarding so many cool people, transitioning from one career to another. And if anybody experienced that, it was me, myself.
So so you had people transitioning from one job to real estate. One of the things, as you know, and as a lot of people like us know, that let's say we bring in 10 people, probably 1 or 2 of them are going to succeed, or 1 or 2 of them are going to really hone their skills and do really well, and the others might have a nice, have a nice income. How did you see those people? You went from 33 to 300. If you kept everybody making money, how would that have looked to you? And what did the people do? Were people able to consistently make money in that market center?
So that's an interesting journey, right? So ironically enough, there were 17 market centers or franchises in our particular region. And everybody was really, like, I'd never done this before in my life. I'd never been a recruiter. I've always just been a builder. And I'm going to answer your questions. I'll get there.
That's okay.
But what I learned was, out of the 17 franchises in our particular region, everybody was really great at hiring new licensees. I couldn't hire a new licensee to save my life. Couldn't figure out why. I know why now. I was very judgmental. Okay. I like producers. I like sharpening my iron with other iron. I like being with the best of the best. Why? Because I wasn't there, and those were my leaders. That's who I wanted to emulate. And so I thought I had to go get top producers. So I was just recruiting what they called cappers, people that produced, that paid a full cap. And for me, those were such easy conversations to be had. They were smart. They got it. I didn't have to work hard. They were healthy conversations, business conversations. Couldn't hire a new licensee to save my life, but everybody else was doing great at new licensees, but they couldn't hire cappers as easily. And then I had to figure out what that was all about. And it was all about judgment. And I see it to this day with so many people. And it was, I'm looking for the perfect person, right? So everybody's looking for the perfect person. What's that perfect profile coming out of a specific industry into our industry? Who's going to make it? Who's going to be great? What I learned over 10 years was there is no perfect formula for the perfect persona. There's no perfect person who you could say at an interview, that person's got the chops. They're going to be highly successful.
So this brings out a lot of questions in my head, right? So there's no perfect person out there. So we hear so much, you and I, in our circles, everybody talks about this DISC analysis, right? And talk about high D and high I, and I don't want that kind of person. I want this kind of person. Tell me something about this profile, this personality profile. You said no one tells what you're going to be able to do. Does that matter? Does the DISC profile, does that matter when you're looking for producers or cappers?
Dave, look, I have gone through it all. The AV recruit select training, personnel profiles training. I got into astrology for God's sakes. I mean, the disc profiles. I mean, I really dived in to the person, to the people, and by the way, I'm not sure that I answered your last question, but only to find out that there is no perfect person. Now, there are some valid points to understanding how to adjust your communication style to meet the needs of the person across the table. There are some valid points to that, right? We've got to understand how people are wired, what they respond to. We don't want to treat people the way we want to be treated. That old saying. We need to learn how to treat people the way they want to be treated. Okay, so if we understand that, then we understand that people are wired differently. And so you might have an S over here and a C over here, and you might have a high DI. You and I are probably DIs off the chart, right? You're probably an I off the chart. That's not going to determine our level of success. It's that inner fire. It is the passion. It is the why. It is what is driving them to achieve. And we have these external forces that impact who we are, that drive our level of success. Right? So who's to say who that is? And by the way, I lived in a part of San Diego that might as well be, it's an integration of every culture that you could imagine in a small area. And so, I was dealing with just so many ethnicities that there was no way of knowing how does the DISC apply? How does the AVA apply? How does pick a profile, pick a personality, pick a profile. I don't know how that would apply to the different cultures with people that are speaking one language to 5 languages with external factors that affect and impact people so differently. So to look for this magic formula has been a tough one for me, because what I saw moms, I saw dads, I saw, single individuals achieve and strive, only to learn that their story impacted their drive to success. How do you know who someone's going to be successful when you don't even know their story or how to get them to where they want to be? We all want to be somewhere. I had one mom that just wanted to make enough money. Her husband was a police officer. She just wanted to make enough money to make the additions on her house. Today, she's a major top producer. At the time, that was not her why. And that's not what drove her. Super high C, by the way, not a people person, not social.
So I find that the type of person you are does not tell me, as you just said, does not tell me that you're going to be, you're going to be a great agent, or you're going to be a top producer, or you're going to produce at all. People would look at, okay, so the questions that I ask rather than DISC is I ask, well, do you consider yourself extroverted or introverted? And whatever they answer to me, I say, well, that doesn't matter. And people would say that if I ask you, am I, Dave Finale, extroverted or introverted, what would you say?
I would say from the outside looking in, you're an extrovert.
Right.
However, I happen to believe you have a lot of friends, but you probably have very few in your inner circle.
That's very true.
It's just a guess.
That's very true. I am, believe it or not, still to a point shy. Right? I mean, you wouldn't know that by my social. You wouldn't know that by this broadcast. You wouldn't know that how I come out. But it's just, it's like I pound through it every day. I give you, for instance, and this is going to be a lot of people out there. I have 2 places, and today I went to a brand new gym, and, I had fear about going to a brand new gym where I didn't know anybody, didn't know how it worked. Not that you need to know how a gym works, but, I had this trepidation about me going there. And that's just me and a little bit of my shyness. And the only way to break through it is, how am I going to know unless I do it? Right. So it's an investment I've already made into everything. And I am of the opinion that if I'm going to do something, if I'm going to invest the time, I'm going to invest the money, I've got to use it. Right. I think most people need to look at their at their credit card bills and see what apps they're buying that they don't use. Most of us don't do that, right? I recently did that and was very happy to find that every app I was paying for, I was using. But that's beside the point. It's like, okay, so who you are, what you are does not matter to what production you're going to do. So when we talk about top, you were hiring cappers, right? And you could not hire that new producer. You couldn't tell that new producer was going to be a producer. The new agent was going to be a producer. I don't think anybody can tell right off the bat the first day. Some you can, some you can't.
We think we can. We in the biz think we can, but there's more to it. There's just more to it. I've seen people that I've fallen in love with in the first few minutes because they've got great energy, they've got a great background, they've been in medical sales, they're going to crush it. No. Right. It's the discipline. It is the willpower. It is what that inner drive. It is, you know what it is? And I was just talking to somebody yesterday, and I ended up into an hour coaching session because this person's really, really great at marketing at the 30,000 foot view. Okay. However, she's being challenged to get more intimate in her relationships. And my final comment to her was less talking, more listening. And so we get excited energetically when we connect and we're thinking like souls, like minded, this person's going to be great. Are we listening? Are we mastering the art of the question?
No, we're not, to the point. And I'll give you a little example just about this broadcast, right? So you and I met earlier in the week. We had a long discussion about what we're going to do and what we're going to talk about. This is always about a conversation. And I have to be very, very careful during this broadcast not to think about my next question or topic I want to talk about, which is why I have this next to me. I have notes and I keep making notes. So I have to really concentrate on listening. And I think because I have to do that, I do a much better job at our conversation. Agents, and most agents don't understand that, shut the hell up and just listen more and talk less. That is like the easiest thing and the simplest thing we can say, right? And when we're having a conversation, that's where the listening has to come in. And for me, I have to cut myself in two when I'm doing this broadcast because I need to have great stuff to talk about. I need to be very interesting. And I mean, I am, so there's no issue there with this, right? But the thing is that we also need to listen to where the conversation is going because our objective on this broadcast and in a listing presentation, in a buyer presentation, is to let the conversation go where it goes. And that's what most people don't understand, where they want to be this top producer and they want to get out and they want to tell people how excited they are, but they don't do anything, right? So when talking to a new agent, is there something that they should think about when they're getting into this business, do you think?
Oh, Dave, so I started this conversation with telling you how hard it was for me to hire the new licensee, and that was because there was a lot of judgment there, right? I was like looking for the perfect person. What I realized was that you've got so many of these people coming in from different walks of life. And I think your answer, repeat your question again so I answer it.
So what should we be really looking for when it comes to an agent? What should they be thinking? Because I think the thing is that we're looking for something and they're looking to give something that they think it should be because of this romanticism that they had being a sales agent.
Okay. So what I have learned was that in order for me to be successful with the new licensee and conquer this thing that I couldn't achieve before was I had to approach the new licensee differently without judgment. And so it's really ironic that I own a real estate school and all I do is engage with the new licensee and the pre-licensee. Isn't that interesting? Right?
Yeah.
God works in mysterious ways. The universe is like, no, you're going this way and you're going to learn to master this. And so sometimes I feel like a therapist, so what I'm finding myself involved in is the conversation with the new licensee or the career adult wanting to transition into real estate because they have this big dream, right? They see the movies, they see the TV series, they see people living large lives, they see the glitz, the glamour, and they don't see the reality of the day, the grind, the boring, the broccoli no seasoning approach to building our business. And we got to do the things we have to do because it's good for us, but it doesn't taste good, but we got to do it. And this is the conversation that I often use with, look, if you're going to do this, don't just throw down the money and not do it. You've got, the decision is always the hardest part for them. Should they or should they not do it? Get their license. Can they get into real estate? Do they have what it takes? And so I do a career day. I have a career day conversation once a week, Tuesdays at 11, and I Zoom in people from all over California. And we talk about, here's the realities of real estate, and here's what it takes. And if I could fill in the blanks for you, could you then answer the question, your own question, can I do it? Of course you can do it. You're already creating wealth, doing all the things you would be doing on your own, but you're doing it for somebody else, for a W-2. I came from corporate America. I came as a W-2 person, never, always knowing that I wanted to own my own business, never really knowing what it was going to be. Honestly, I've got a great fashion idea in the world of fashion that I thought I would do someday. Got to still have the business name and everything, but here I am in real estate, and I hear this all, day after day after day from everybody's got a different reason for getting into real estate and for getting their real estate license. Everybody. I had a new licensee. He's an architect. He's got 600 units he's building. Why do you want to get your real estate? He's like, license. And he's like, well, I don't want to be in residential real estate. I'm an architect. I'm building 600 units over here in, I don't know where, LA somewhere. He would just like to represent some of the listings. Do you know, I've got another agent, new licensee out in Southwest Riverside. He's an actor. He says the reason why he decided to get his license was because, now I don't know if this is true or not, so don't quote me, but a very famous actor supposedly has, I'm not going to even actually say his name because I don't want to get in trouble, but a very, very famous actor, might have flown airplanes in a really famous movie, got his real estate license. And he was on the movie set where he was lecturing everybody about how they should all get their real estate license. So he got his real estate license. By the way, he's going to be in another movie coming up soon, in a year from now. But he's out there hustling. He's hustling, but he has his own reasons why he wanted to get his real estate license, and he's on his third career. So everybody's got a different reason and a different reason for being successful. The thing about getting your real estate license that I tell these new licensees, it's like the perfect marriage partner. It is the one thing that you can do that allows you to marry the passion of your dreams. You don't have to give up anything. You love pets? Yeah, great. Keep your philanthropy in, supporting pets. You love yoga? Great. Keep your yoga business. Have your real estate license, because you get to marry the two.
Yes.
That will allow you to fund. The real estate license will just allow you to fund the life you want to live, and it's the life you're living with the passions that light you up, right?
Right. So when you talk about the pets and you talk about yoga or whatever it is, when you say marry the two, I want people to understand that you can do both at the same time and separately, but you can put the two together. I mean, someone was having trouble getting their business going, and I said, look, why don't you just take what you love the most? I mean, you love cats, so why don't you be the pet-friendly realtor of Maryland or whatever it is, wherever you are? I mean, and that can be a business page, or that can be a thing for you, right? Because people are going to love you. I mean, look, let's face it. There's three things that we compete with on social media. One is it's going to be pets, babies, and booty. Those are the three things that we compete with on social, right? Pets are always going to get the ah, babies are going to get the ah, and then there's going to be those that want to show off their bodies and stuff. And you've got, I mean, look, we know a lot of these people that work out all the time. We see them in the gym. We see their muscularity, which is really cool, and everybody's impressed with that, right? So but that's what we're competing with, right? I can't compete with that in the gym. I'll still take pictures and post his stories from the gym. I can't compete with my good friend John Cheplack. I can't compete with him, right? And I'm not going to try to compete with him. You know who John is?
Okay.
You
I was
know,
gonna say, and yet are we? And see, this is the perception, Dave. Isn't this the perception that's out there in the
exactly.
world? Are we really? And this is what I tell people: do business with people. We all have our ride or dies. Am I really competing with these other people? I'm really not. My relationship is always on the table. And if I'm pouring into that relationship, it's going to give back to me. Whatever relationship I'm pouring into, whether it be the receptionist at the front desk, hello, I'm having a conversation. If I'm having a conversation, whatever it is, sign language, verbal, I'm developing a relationship. That's going to determine my success with that person. So conversations are the definitions of relationships. So what kind of conversations are we having with people? And it's our inner circle that we're going to be dependent on. We're not really competing with other people, which is why we have so many real estate agents in this business, right? Because not everybody wants to make $5 million, but they would love to make $145,000 a year. I had 45 agents in my brokerage, all making $140,000 or more a year out of the 300. And everybody was, and we had a group of people, but they all had their own definition of success. From the mom who wanted to make $40,000 in commission because she wanted to add on a pool, to the dad who's moving down from Sacramento, who knew nobody but needed to take care of his family. You know, we all have our different reasons.
It's all where you're coming from. We have our different reasons. And when I say what we're competing with, we're really not, if we're doing things, if we have value, if we're not copying. And here's what I mean by copying, right? So the copy agent, the one that's copying others, and the one that think they have to be the loudest agent, right, is the one that sees, and it's an old expression, the tip of the iceberg, right? And you said it before, they're seeing the glory. They're not seeing the 95% underneath the water of all the hard work, all the stuff they put in, all the boring bullshit we have to do. All the stuff, like, for instance, you know, I mean, I've gotten really good at writing short scripts to videos. Why? Because I wait till the last minute and my back's up against the wall. I've got scripts to write. I've got videos to do. And okay, this is the topic. Boom. In an hour, I can write 10 scripts and record 10 videos. Why am I able to do that? Because that's part of the underneath the water part of the iceberg, right? Of the hard work that we have to do. I want to get into something that's really important that a lot of people don't see. We've talked about it, but we haven't labeled it. And you mentioned it quickly, career transitioning, right? Because there are so many people that actually get into this business, whatever reason, whether they don't have a job or they lost a job or they say, you know, let me get into real estate. I always want to preface this by saying, if you think you want to try real estate, don't get your license. Trying is not something you're really able to do to be successful. But you've worked with a lot of agents that have transitioned from other careers. And I want to make a point of how you do that and what you've been able to do, because it's a specialization of yours. And I think it's one of the most important things about getting into this business. Talk to me about this whole topic.
Okay. So transitioning, meaning, you know, I've got somebody who spent 34 years in the police department. Transitioning, his specialty, his superpower, right? 34 years in the police department. Vince, if you know who you are, I mean, if you know who you are. You have a special language that you develop in as a police officer, right? Over that many years, or in the military, you have a special language, and you have to adjust to a very specific vertical way of thinking, to just relating to people in this business in a different way, in a non-professional way, but in a human way, right? And so, you know, you've got people from all walks of life transitioning. You know, he used to well, I don't want to get in his stories, right? You have to bring your life stories to the table to relate to the
Yes.
person across the table.
Yes.
So his stories were always about arrests when he was getting listing appointments, listing contracts signed or buyer, contract signed. And it was always, they were, so he had to tailor those conversations and change those conversations. But the only way that that will work is if you get into business with the right person who does the right amount of training to help you take your superpower, your gifts from whatever walk of life that you come from, and segue it right into real estate in a way that enhances what you bring to the table, but doesn't erase what you bring to the table. We don't want you to come and erase everything you bring to the table, because that's the beauty of real estate. It caters to every personality style with every level of experience, whether it's zero experience for the new 18-year-old that I just got licensed to the 65-year-old who starting a third career in real estate. We want you to bring everything you have to the table because we all have that superpower. But that transition it's a scary one. They're very scared to make the change. And I say, well, and it's easy, Dave, for you and I to say, don't be afraid. You're not changing. You're just changing the conversation that you have. You're not changing anything else. You used to talk about arrests and, arrests and all that comes with that, and drug busts to houses. We're just changing the nature of the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different careers. I mean, there's people that we all know that are all different careers. I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard of Breakthrough Broker, but the founder and co-founder and CEO of Breakthrough Broker was a homicide detective.
Oh, there you go.
He was a homicide detective and became a real estate agent because when he was doing investigations, he'd go into houses and say, oh, this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. And that's part of his, that's a really short part of his story. But his name's Eric Sachs. He's a great guy. He's been on this broadcast twice. But that's part of, who he is and how he got into helping people by telling stories, by doing marketing through stories. And that is an important thing.
It is. But what was your question about transitioning specifically? What were we talking about?
So people have, they want to transition and they have a fear, right? And fear there's always a fear with career transitioning from one thing to the next, something that was comfortable. Sometimes they're going so there's several different ways they transition. One is they've got this full-time job, but they always like real estate, and then they don't know. Let's hit this one first, right? So they've got a full-time job, they're doing okay. They just don't like their job. And then they get into real estate and they start doing pretty good in real estate. And they're kind of like, they got this money thing going on where they don't want to stop the other thing, but they really love this and think they can do really well.
Yeah.
How do they make that change? How does someone with a full-time job, now a full-time real estate a career, how do they make the transition to 100% real estate?
Well, that reminds me of the conversation we were having, right? So in that is possible. And here we are, I'm constantly coaching big teams and franchise owners, and I'm literally having to chase people down to hire these new licensees because they just don't take the new licensee as valuable, right? But then, some of my new licensees were holding down six-figure jobs.
Yes.
And also closing six figures in real estate, and you're going to poo-poo that person because they're not full-time. Everybody's asking the question, I'll interview you if you're full-time. Well, guess what? I used to be you. You know what? And I used to, be very judgmental when it came to new licensees. And I would say to you today, fine. I'm going to go find those people who want to be in business with really good quality people. Because guess what, you guys, who I'm talking to. You are quality. You're coming from a amazing walks of life. You're going to be amazing in real estate because you want it. So go do it, and don't let the naysayers who are looking for the perfect person, reject you and affect you. It is possible. It is happening. For example, I had a graphic designer. Took 2 years to transition her career because she didn't want to let go of that every 2-week paycheck. Okay. Right. Just like the other one who was making six figures, working a full-time job. But guess what? The one that made over $100,000 a year, who full-time job plus closed 10, 11 transactions a year in San Diego. It's a lot of commission. She was making six figures there too. You know, she got laid off. What was she going to do? You know what? It was the universe's way of saying, guess what, lady? It's time to go full time. Time to go full time. The graphic designer took 2 years. Same thing. Didn't want, she was closing 6 to 7 transactions on her own in her first year. And then her second year, probably made the same in commission her second year, closing half the number of transactions that she did the first time. But what she realized when she joined this team was that everybody around her were doing their scripts, their dialogues, their practices, their calls, and she's watching it. But guess what? She couldn't be there all day like they were. So she was realizing in that moment that she wasn't going to be able to keep up. So she called me on the way home crying, and I'm by the way, all the time I get those calls. She's crying and she's like, I can't keep up. I cannot do both. 2 years. So the fork in the road was for her in that moment. All right, where she had to make a decision. She couldn't straddle the W-2 job and the 1099 job any longer if she wanted to be successful in real estate. But guess what? She knew she always wanted to be in real estate, so she did. So she ends up joining this team 4 months later, dialing for dollars, old leads. Long story short, finds a buyer, enters into an $8 million sale transaction, closes in one sale more than she made in the 2 years that it took her to quit and move into real estate. $192,000 in commission.
And this scenario that I asked you about is, look, it's tough to make that decision. I've been very fortunate. I've coached several agents from good agent to icon status agent at EXP and have them leave their jobs, their full-time jobs. I've been very lucky to work with people like that. And it's also the mindset. It's the drive. We said that before. You said that before. It's your drive. It's what's inside of you, right? Hey, look, if you're happy spending time doing both and not having much of a life in between, that's okay too, right? Okay. So it does take time. And when people come in, I say, you've got this full-time job, do you have an FU date to your job? They say, what's that? I said, well, that's the date you're going to walk away from that job, right? Have you set that date? And a lot of times, if that's something you want to do eventually, once you set the date, you need to put things in motion, just like a goal, right? And it is determined by what's inside you, what your drive is, what that force is. Like you talked about the person that came down, didn't know anybody, but he had to support his family. I mean, there's a drive right there. Now, not everybody has that same drive, but there are a lot of people that get into this business that want to really get into it, and they've got the drive to do it, or they say, this is just who they are, right? And there's a lot of people that don't have the drive, but they actually do, but they never continue. It's like the old J curve, right? The J curve is you start something, and as it goes down, not going well, and you quit before it has a time to catapult up top. It's the same thing. So there's a lot of other career transitioning. There's also the ones that, got to start from scratch. They either lost their job or the job was discontinued or whatever, or they're in a job they just hate. What's the secret to transitioning there? Is it still what's inside you, Tessa?
Like I said, the insurance agent that went from selling insurance to selling real estate, moved from Sacramento to San Diego and knew no one. I've got the divorcee right out of, she was a military mom, stayed at home for, raised her kids. Next thing you know, she's getting a divorce. She's got to make money to support herself and her kids. She knew nobody. She was from Sweden. Rookie of the year. The police detective, right? 34 years, retired, didn't need to make money, comes into my office all the time. Tessa, how come I can't do more, business like so-and-so? Well, because you don't want it. If you wanted it, you'd make it happen. Okay. Right. So a highly successful real estate agent. Look, there's so many people that came into my new school when I was running the franchise that came in as new licensees that today, 8 years later, is it even more than that? 10 years later, they're in real estate, very successful and highly sought after. So I would say to you, look, just if you're entering into the world or thinking about getting into real estate, just Do it, and don't listen to anybody else outside of your radar. Listen to your own internal radar. Only you know your vision, your value, and where you're going. So go do it, because there's plenty of room in this space for you. So come on board, come on in. Now, that's number one. Number two, for those of you who are judging the new licensee, change the mindset, because what if 85% of the business that we're going to see in real estate will come from the ones that aren't even licensed yet? What if 85% of that business 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now are from people that aren't even licensed yet? Hello? That's a real reality. So just reevaluate the conversations that you're having with the people that are transitioning from professional careers into the world of real estate. That's all. Just reevaluate that, because there's a lot of really great people coming into this business that have something to offer and give back to their community, And wouldn't you want to be in business with the best yet to come? I do.
So you've always strived to be just that, and that's the best, right? And you went from one career to another into the team leader type thing, as well as the CEO, and then now you have agent real estate schools. What was the reason, the catalyst for you to do that part of your business in your career now?
You mean the agent real estate schools?
Yeah, agent real estate schools, which is what you work on now, as well as recruiting other agents to your team and group.
So remember, I mentioned that I ran a Keller Williams office in San Diego for 10 years.
Right.
And as a part of that, those responsibilities as a team leader, my job was to recruit. That was my job, right? I mean, by the way, any franchise owner, in order for us to stay alive in this market, we have to recruit. In order for us to recruit, we have to be credible, we have to be valid, we have to be relatable, there's a lot of things we have to cultivate. Well, the franchise got so huge that we had multiple pillars of business. We had the school, we had commercial, we had luxury, we had finance, we had different divisions of the business, and we had acquisition, where I would acquire, little mini, either independents or franchises. And one of those happened to be the school. Well, the larger we got, the more my teams, my agents, as they were, growing, they had to add to their team. They needed more talent. So they were referring people to the franchise. So the school actually was born from the franchise before we spun it off on its own. The reason why I took over the school was because at one point there was that fork in the road, even for me, where I had to make a decision. Either I step into the role as operating partner for this franchise, and I work with the investor group on board where we were in alignment on vision and path, or I had to see my way out. And the fork in the road was to make a decision on staying with an investor group that was very conservative, wasn't sure about the market, wasn't in support of my growth plan, or spin off and go launch the school and just take over the school until I figured out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And that's how we started with the school. And guess what? The one thing I knew about the school was that every time you talk to somebody, they were happy and excited. They had made the decision, they're going to get their real estate license. They were excited. So I took over the school about 8 years ago, ended up really developing it into an online e-commerce platform. And we've got 5,000 active students now in the state of California. We actually have we service Michigan and probably another 12 or 13 states across America. And we'll, knock on wood, if we're still alive and well, we'll continue to grow and build. And I have developed this role in the school for the last 8 years of just investing in the people and encouraging them to just come on in. Welcome to the world of real estate. And that's how it started. So it spun off from the franchise, and that's what I ended up, cutting my teeth on with this school. Again, Dave, another journey where I stepped into something I didn't know anything about, and life said, "Go do this. You have to do this now." It was either that or I had to go recruit again, and I had my fill of recruiting at the time.
Crazy question. Was there a sign? Was there something you saw? Was there a business thing? Was there what? I mean, you always wonder why people make these changes and make these decisions. I mean, you said you came to a fork in a road. I mean, personally, I know it's a personal question, but what, people say, well, what the hell are you doing that for? People have said that to me for years. Was there something like that? That pushed you that way, or was the trigger, was the switch?
Yes. And what I will say is that I've learned over time to pay attention to the signs. And so without getting into the weeds and the details and the stuff, you have to just pay attention to what's happening in your world to recognize that we are at a fork in the road. And a lot of times we resist. And when, those of you who are listening, if you feel stuck, that is your resistance in display. And when we feel stuck and we don't know why we feel stuck, but we're stuck, it's because either A, we're supposed to learn something new, or B, we're resisting a direction we're supposed to take. So what was it? I knew that I was at an impasse with my investor group, and that we were not on the same page and with growth and vision. And when you negotiate, navigate your way at dissolving relationships, you have to pay attention to what's happening. And so, they didn't want me taking over another franchise, and so they gladly parted with the school. And when they parted with the school, I gladly took it over, and I thought, I'll just come in for a soft landing and I'll do the school thing, and this will be fun and everybody's happy and it's different and okay. And so I did that, and the franchise dissolved, and it has never recovered since.
Okay. So there was your switch. So,
well, let me correct myself. Let me just correct. The franchise didn't dissolve, but the franchise sold. The franchise stayed intact, but let's just say it never returned to its glory days.
So, there's so many things we've talked about today, and you had said one thing a few minutes ago, having to do with how do you build, how do you keep going. And you said, as team leaders, as CEOs, as broker owners, the one thing we have to do is recruit, right?
We do.
So I just want to make a simple statement, and this is a statement that I learned years ago, that there's one thing for brokers and team leaders that solves all the problems. There's one thing for agents that solves every problem that they have.
Yeah.
For the brokers and the team leaders, it's recruiting. All you need to do is to do it every day. If you do it every day, you'll never have a problem in your company, in your team, or whatever. That makes sense, Tessa, right?
Right, 100%. We got to do it.
For agents, and what we've been really good at and blessed to do a lot of is help agents build businesses. And how have we done it? No matter what it is, prospecting. Prospecting solves every problem in a real estate agent's business and career. If you're going to want to grow a business, you want to maintain a business, you want to just scale the business, it's prospecting. Would you agree with those two statements?
We're prospecting for something, agents or sellers or buyers. So the core competency there is discipline. Discipline focused on that one thing that we know is going to net us our greatest results. So what is it?
It's prospecting. And recruiting is prospecting, by the way. So prospecting is for everything. I want to take a second and thank our people that are watching. We know that we've got at least 3 people, and these are all top people in their fields. Carl Pease, top Century 21 broker owner for years and years and years. I had the great benefit of working with him. Matt Marinoff is watching the show. Matt is He wrote the book on short sales called The Short Sale Savage, nationally known. And then, of course, Robert Carbuccia, who is a great agent, also a great coach. Except for Carl, have been on the program. But you know what, Carl, I got to get you on the broadcast because we can talk about cigars and we talk about real estate. But anyway, I wanted to thank those guys for coming on. Tessa, what is the one thing you would say to two questions in one? What will you say to a new agent to get started quickly? Is there something you could tell them that they need to do to get started quickly?
Yes, make the decision and do it. And don't overthink it. Just get it done. And if you're in California, call me.
If you're a producing agent, and let's okay. Now I'm not gonna go to producing. I'm gonna go to stuck agent.
Okay.
Stuck agent to me is someone who's been doing 2 to 12 deals for the last few years. Can't get to the next level. What would you say to that? What I would call a stuck agent that wants to get to the next level and or scale.
What would I say to the one agent that's stuck?
Yep.
See, this is where I have to say, Dave, I can't just say something to the one. I want to know what's got them stuck. Talk to me. What would I say to them?
They're in their own way.
How do they know? They don't know. You know what they need to do? They need to mastermind. They need to go talk to somebody who is seeing the results that they want to see, and they just need to go talk to that person who's doing it the way they want to do it, and go talk to that person. Because here's the thing, they don't know why they're stuck. They don't know what's holding them back. I can't tell them other than you know what? If you're in your head, get out of your head. Go talk to somebody that can help you.
Yeah, I'm going to add one more thing to that, right?
All right, go ahead.
The thing is that if you go mastermind and people say this, and this, and you don't do it, you're an idiot.
Wow, there you go.
You've got to do the work, right? You absolutely got to do the work. And
well, here it is, Dave. Your list of what you will do must be longer than the list of what you won't do. That's it. That's it. Go make a list of what you will do versus what you won't do, because that's what I find with those agents who are stuck. They've got a longer list of what they won't do. There you have it.
And if the word fear comes into it, do it like you love it, and then that will get you through. This has been a great broadcast. I've got a couple of things for you real quickly before we finalize it. I want to thank you so much for your expertise, for your insight, and everything else, and just thanks so much for being on today, Tessa. It's been a dream, been a lot of fun. The one question I do have for you, aside from the ones I just said, would be, how do I help you grow your business?
Oh, Dave, I love how you close this. Thank you so much. Well, you know what, Dave? Thank you, because this has really been quite a joy. How do you help me grow our business? You know, you're doing it. And the way that you show up every month in our mastermind group and giving back and pouring into the the solo agents that are trying to scale and build their business, I couldn't ask for anything more. So keep doing what you're doing. And to help me grow my business, you know, anybody that wants to get a real estate license, give me a call. Just send them on my way.
Just to qualify what you said, we do a Tessa and Rob do a solo agent mastermind once a week, Thursdays at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Central, Pacific, right? So if you're interested in getting more information about how to attend that, let us know, DM us, whatever. We're easy to find. There's Tessa's Instagram on the board, as well as her contact information. And Tessa, last but not least, we can't go without.
Yes. Yeah. I get one, right? I get one of those?
Yes. You're on the podcast, you're getting a hat. I want to thank everybody for coming on. Next week we're so excited. We have a friend from for the past few years, Charity Masoudi, coming on. She is a realtor in North Carolina. She's CEO of the Charity Group, brokered by EXP. She is someone that is proof that you can start quickly and get going. All you need to do is do the work. We haven't talked about her personally, but we've talked about the type that she is to really grow. She has given back so much to us and what she does. and she has not been in this business for a long time at all. So she's like one of the trusted advisors in our group that we talk to. So Tessa, again, thank you so much for coming on. Please stay on for a second after we finalize. Again, we have Charity coming on next week. We've got great other guests coming up in the next months. We've got so much great stuff going on. Thanks so much for watching Real Estate Talk TGIF. Again, brought to you by njheroesprogram.com. We help heroes save money when they buy and sell houses. Thanks so much for being on. We'll see you next week. Oops.